Now let's explore how water can be a crystal. In its healthiest and most dynamic state, water is literally a living liquid crystal. Much like a quartz crystal, whose silicon dioxide molecules form a lattice, water's dihydrogen oxide molecules also join together in hexagonal rings. Now, of course, we all know that quartz is used in electronics, like watches and computers, because of its ability to store and transmit information via piezoelectric energy. And whenever molecules are in a coherent crystalline formation, they can store information. So both structured crystalline water and quartz crystals, like those in computer chips, are very similar because they both have hexagonal matrix. And this is why Dr. Rustam Roy calls water the world's most malleable computer. In fact, as biophysicist Dr. Mei-Wan Ho discovered, when water is crystalline, it behaves with the principle of quantum coherence, which allows it to communicate over vast distances instantaneously, faster than the speed of light. And your body needs this coherence to stay vibrant, healthy, and adaptive, right down to the genetic level. As Dr. Carly Newday has said, water is a fractal antenna, computing energy and consciousness to manifest and determine the expression of your DNA. Dr. Roy, one of the world's foremost water structure experts, explained it like this. He said, molecular structure is like the alphabet of water. The molecules are like the letters, but when water is dormant and unstructured, what Dr. Gerald Pollack calls bulk water, then it's a nonsensical jumble of letters like alphabet soup. In bulk water, the hydrogen bonds between the H2O molecules form and break apart billions of times per second, so there's no time for them to connect and communicate. But if the water is structured, then suddenly the letters fit together. And depending upon how they're arranged, just like with the alphabet, they can carry an infinite amount of information. Only 26 letters can comprise our entire language, all written history and all of the sonnets of Shakespeare. And only 3 atoms, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, can carry all the information and memory of life in the universe since the dawn of time. Each cluster of water molecules has at least 440,000 panels on it, and each one of those is responsible for sensing, storing, and transmitting information about its environment, like energy, vibration, and light. So when all of the molecules are joined together in a hexagonal lattice, when they form a crystalline structure, water transforms from a random liquid into a sentient and sensitive being. And this liquid crystal allotrope may appear to be clear liquid, just like the bulk unstructured water that we're all accustomed to, but it behaves very differently in your body. Some of the anomalous properties of crystalline water are higher surface tension, different freezing temperature and pH, increased ORP or oxidation reduction potential, geometric organization and ice crystal formation, increased molecular stability and alignment, absorption of certain spectra of light, negative electrical charge, increased mineral solubility and oil solubility, and microclustering, where molecules arranged in smaller groups, allowing for better cellular penetration and hydration. This change in pH, which indicates the amount of hydrogen in a liquid, means it's better for life-supporting systems, which requires a balanced pH to thrive. Greater oxidizing reduction potential, or ORP, means how much energy it can donate to the body via extra hydrogen atoms. Better absorption of certain spectra of light and more negative electrical ionic charge mean that the water has a higher energy potential and is more electrically conductive than disorganized bulk water. Higher mineral and oil solubility make for easier delivery of nutrients into cells. Microclustering allows the water to penetrate through aquaporin channels in the body as smaller molecules, so it's easier to bring nutrients into the cell and take toxins out of the cell, and it's considered 3 times more hydrating than larger clusters of water molecules. Dr. Gerald Pollack calls crystalline water exclusionary zone water, or EZ water, because it excludes the solutes that should be removed, like glyphosate and all the various toxicants in the body. So crystalline water is part of your body's detoxification process as well. Now, there have been innumerable esteemed researchers in this field in recent decades. In fact, 3 Nobel Prizes were awarded in the 1990s for work relating to clustered, organized, or structured water. One of the most notable researchers was Mushik John, who studied water using nuclear magnetic resonance imaging, or NMR, and wrote the book called The Water Puzzle and the Hexagonal Key, which summarizes over 40 years of scientific research documenting the crystallographic properties of water. There was also Benny Johansson, who documented the beneficial health effects of what he called functional water, and of course Dr. Gerald Pollack, who popularized the term fourth phase water through his studies of the exclusion zone using mostly UV spectrometry at 200 nanometers. Andreas Schultz also showed how water forms radial crystal formations when it's healthy versus disordered 90-degree formations when water is unhealthy. For example, Here's a photograph that he took of normal distilled water, and then here's the same water after being poured through a natural action vortex. You can see that the toxic right angles have shifted into more symmetrical crystalline geometries like a snowflake. And Dr. James DeMeo also demonstrated spectrographic changes in water as it accumulated etheric or orgone energies. Water itself is a fractal antenna that can absorb, amplify, transduce, and transmit radiant frequencies. And DeMeo experimented with water's responsiveness to the primary life force energy itself and its capacity to store these subtle energetic charges. Of course, most savvy living water aficionados are already familiar with the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who used a dark field microscope to uncover the crystallographic responses of water exposed to various stimuli. His photographs were instrumental in shifting mainstream understanding of water, the power of prayer, of music, of thoughts, and of words. And in a similar yet more accessible way, Veda Austin has recently begun publishing her findings in water communication using a simple method of freezing water in a petri dish. Again, we see here that water not only perceives, it also constantly is reflecting us back to ourselves. What it receives, it transmits, and when it's polluted or dormant, it's less responsive. When it's living and structured, it forms these beautiful crystals. For example, look at Veda Austin's photographs of water before going through a natural action vortex. And now see how the water has completely shifted its expression after flowing through one of the vortexes. It becomes more symmetrical, artistic, and fractal. Austin then thawed and refroze the water, and it still formed beautiful crystals. Even after a second thaw and refreeze, you can see that the crystals are intact. Now, this is not a common observation. Even if tap water has structurally improved from an influence, it will usually begin to degrade after melting and refreezing. Now, that's the power of revitalization and crystallization in a natural action flow form vortex. It activates and invigorates your water. The water you drink becomes your blood within 5 minutes. So by bringing your water into living coherence, you're bringing your body into living coherence also.